All right, so we're going to swap the ECM on this Fireplace. In the Fireplace I have right in front of me, this is our 8K IFT equipped Fireplace. So the first thing we're going to want to do is grab our recommended tools and safety mechanisms for doing the swap. So we're going to remove this decorative front. If you have hardwood or non-carpet surfaces that you're going to set this on, I'd recommend grabbing some sort of towel or drop cloth. As well, we're going to want to make sure we have safety glasses, safety gloves. Obviously it's safety first. This is a relatively easy operation, but we want to make sure you're being safe while doing it. So make sure you have these extra items to keep yourself safe while doing the swap. And also make sure you have the ECM that you're going to swap in ready and available. You don't want to get started on this and then realize you don't have something to swap in. So make sure this is around nearby as well. I'm going to set this here. First step to swap the ECM is going to be removing the decorative front off the Fireplace. In this unit, it's relatively easy. It just lifts up and out. Certain units may have a more difficult procedure to remove the front. Make sure you're referencing your installation manual to verify if this is even something you want to undertake. So again, this unit's relatively easy. Let's go ahead and do it. So we're going up and we're going out. And again, make sure you have something to set this on. You don't want it to scuff. So I'm going to set this aside. Now on this Fireplace and many of our Fireplaces, the ECM is going to be located in a cavity underneath the main firebox. So what we're going to do is we're going to access that cavity and start removing the old ECM in order to prepare it to swap for the new one. Alright, so the next step really after we've removed the decorative front is we're going to access the electronics and we're going to start removing stuff to prepare for the swap of the ECM. So the ECM generally is located underneath the firebox. We can slide it outwards, and the first thing we're going to want to do, you can see there's a ton of wires coming out of this thing. We're going to remove every single one of them preparing for the swap. So first thing I would recommend doing is pulling the power supply. This is a 6-volt DC barrel plug. We're going to remove that, set it aside. That's going to cut power to the ECM. Your unit may have an ACM in it. It may not. If it doesn't, you can just ignore these next few steps. The ACM is this unit here that's going to be controlling your lights and fans and other like peripheral devices. We're going to remove that from the old ECM. So that snaps up and out. It's relatively easy to remove. We'll make sure that we keep those connections the same because we don't really need to do anything there. So leave all the things that are plugged into the ACM plugged into the ACM. Next up is the various wires that are plugged into the ECM. See we have a wire harness here. We're going to remove that. These two can be tricky. These are the orange and white wires going to the I and S terminal for your Fireplace. Those are going to run the spark and the ignition of the Fireplace. You may need a needle nose pliers here to remove those because they do wedge them in there pretty tight. Provided they're easily removable, we're just going to remove them and set them aside. Last but not least, your Fireplace is going to have two modules connected to it. Maybe one, maybe two, but the Wi-Fi module is here. The radio frequency module is here. This is going to run your remote. This is going to run your app and voice assistant if you're using that. They're just little cassettes that you pull out. We'll set those aside as well. So now we've got our old ECM out, and then we're going to grab our new ECM and put it in. So again, this is the new ECM, fresh out of the bag. What we're going to have here is some plastic stoppers that we'll need to remove. So this plastic stopper gets removed, that goes to the ACM. This plastic stopper here gets removed, that's your RFM. And if you're using the Wi-Fi module, you'd remove this plastic stopper there, and then you're ready to start installing it. So I'd recommend starting with the connections on the farther side, just so you can then slide it into the cavity. So again, we have our I and S wires here. We'll plug those in. Make sure those are tight. Again, those are very important functions of the Fireplace, the spark and ignition, so you want to make sure those are tightly connected. Now that those are connected, we can go over here. This is the 6-pin harness. That's going to plug in right here. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and connect our ACM back on. So again, the ACM is just going to snap into place there. We'll make sure that's tight. Again, that is an important function as well. Your lights and your fans will not work if that connection is not tight. And then last but not least, we're going to plug back in the power supply. This is going to power the unit on after we flip the position switch. All right, so we've swapped in the ECM. We've reconnected the ACM that was existing. We didn't need to swap that. We've applied power to the ECM. The last step is going to make sure you restore connection to your radio frequency module, your RFM, as well as your Wi-Fi module, your WFM, if it's equipped. So these are little cassette-sized devices. They just snap right in here. That's in there. Your Wi-Fi module is going to snap in on front. All right, you'll hear a little click when those snap into place. So now that everything's back and connected, we're going to restore power using this dip switch in the middle, this 3-position switch. We're going to push it to the right. Expect to hear that beep. That's going to tell us it's powering on. The Wi-Fi module is flashing. That's going to, again, be a good sign that it's receiving power. So really the final step here is going to be repairing everything. So you need to repair the ACM and you need to repair your remote. When you swap the ECM, the remote loses its connection, the ACM loses its connection. The only thing that doesn't lose its connection is the Wi-Fi module. So if you have that equipped, you don't need to do anything additional. You don't need to reset it or anything. You just reconnect it and power it on. So let's cover how to do the reconnection of the ACM and the remote that you have. So in order to do that, we're going to need a thin tool such as a paper clip or a toothpick, and we're going to be pressing the pairing button. So there's a recessed pairing button. It's on the right-hand side of the top of the ECM, and that is going to be how we repair things. So I'll walk you through how to do that next. Alrighty, so as mentioned, the last step here is going to be making sure you repair the ACM, the auxiliary control module, to the ECM, as well as repair your remote. You won't need to do anything with the Wi-Fi module, so leave that as it is. I have my thin tool here. Again, paperclip, toothpick, anything you have will work. There's a recessed pairing button right here on the right-hand side of the ECM. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press and release that. Yeah, that beep is basically you pressed it right, everything's fine. The light on the ECM is going to flash here. It's in pairing mode. It's in pairing mode for 15 seconds. The first thing you want to do is pair the ECM to the ACM. So you've done that now just by pressing it. You can leave the ACM and ECM alone for 15 seconds while it goes through that pairing process. Next up, we'll need to repair our remote. So if you have a touchscreen remote like this one, you're going to need to repair that as well. So same thing, we're going to press the pairing button to initiate pairing mode. Now we have 15 seconds to go ahead and wake up the remote. Use this cross wrench icon there on the top. We'll see a pairing option here in the menu. It's going to try pairing. That double beep is going to tell us these things are paired to each other now. And that's all you need to do. So you've repaired the ECM, the ACM, the remote. Everything should be working as it should again. Obviously test it out. Use every control mechanism you have. Use your remote, use your app. Make sure everything's fine and operating as it should before we put everything back and put the decorative front on. Last thing I'll mention is the ECM that you swapped out. If it's still functional from a basic standpoint, I'd recommend keeping it. Just so that if you ever do need a service part in the future, you have one. If you don't want to keep it, that's fine too. I would just recommend recycling it at your nearest electronics recycler. So that's how you swap an ECM. Thanks for watching, and let us know if you need any help in the comments below. Thanks.